The scene then cuts to the SW Cooperation Training Area, where guards are diligently doing their daily routine exercise. Among them are Seokju and Jin, with Yona watching from the sidelines. The training involves some running and rope climbing. Seokju seems unable to take his eyes off Jin, likely because he struggles to keep up with him. After the rope climbing, the next exercise is desk jumping. Seokju and Jin stand shoulder to shoulder, ready for the challenge. As they start running at an incredible speed, Jin effortlessly outpaces his fellow, leaping over desks with such ease as if he was born for it. The spectators on the sidelines, including Yona, watch in awe, marveling at how Jin seems to excel at everything he does. Once they finish the course, the group takes a moment to catch their breath. Seokju is panting heavily from exhaustion, but when he glances at Jin, he's shocked to see that Jin hasn't even broken a sweat. In the men's locker room, Seokju continues to observe Jin, and he is fascinated by his prowess. That's when he notices a spot of blood on Jin's arm and points it out. Jin also takes notice of the bloodstain but quickly brushes it off, saying it's nothing, and simply puts on his school coat. Seokju, however, is blown away, realizing that only a deep wound would bleed like that. Yet Jin managed to outperform everyone in training despite the injury. Seokju then speaks from the heart and points out that whenever he looks at Jin, he feels like he's been stuck in a small pond his whole life. He doesn't know much about our boy, but he's sure that Jin is not an ordinary Joe, and it's clear that he has been at this game for a long time, especially after witnessing how he rescued Yeona and how he nailed the entire training session. He further explains that since he was young, everyone told him he was a prodigy, but seeing Jin has pushed him to confront his own limits, which is pretty damn frustrating. He makes it clear, though, that he won't let our boy outshine him in training. Jin then asks him if that's why he was keeping such a close eye on him. Seokju feels a bit awkward after being called out, but Jin points out that it's pretty hard not to notice when Seokju has been trying to outdo him in every training session. Still, our boy admits he gets it and understands that Seokju can't help but compare themselves since they're the same age. Seokju stays silent after hearing this, which just confirms that he's definitely comparing himself to Jin. Anyway, our boy then asks Seokju if it's true that he's more than just Yona's bodyguard, and that he's been trained as her aide since he was young. Seokju points out that he's not sure who told this to our boy, but it's kind of true. His grandfather is the chief secretary to the chairman of SW Corp, and his dad works alongside him as an aide. It was decided early on that Seokju would join SW Corp one day, and since he and Yona grew up together, he was trained as her aide to assist her when the time came for her to take on a role at SW Corp. That's when our boy admits that he has no idea how to be an aide and wouldn't even know where to start. With that in mind, he states that they each have their own roles to play. Just as our boy is walking away, Seokju quickly catches up and says he's not going to let Jin beat him in training or sparring. Jin looks at his friend and just smiles. After all, a bit of healthy competition and rivalry never hurt anyone. Once they get out of the men's locker room, Yona is waiting outside as usual. She gives both of them props for a well-done training session and then turns to our boy, asking if he's been busy lately since they haven't seen him at school for a while. Jin simply says he had something to take care of. Yona stays silent for a moment, and then suddenly his phone rings, and the caller ID says, "It's Major Kang." Our boy answers the phone, and Major tells him that the doctors just reported that Gwangsik's operation went smoothly, and there's nothing to worry about. Jin is quite pleased to hear this, and Major further goes on to say that if they hadn't gotten back in time, Gwangsik might not have made it. So, he's alive thanks to our boy. Kang thanks him twice, saying that if Jin hadn't been there to save them, the whole unit would have been in danger, and the other guys in the group are just as grateful. The other guys in the background start showering our boy with gratitude. But then Major Kang gets serious and tells him that he doesn't want to see him out in the field again. He kinda admits that it's a funny thing to say after Jin just saved everyone's asses, but it doesn't sit right with him, and points out that Jin has a family now and a new life ahead of him. But our boy gently reminds the Major that it was because of him that he found that family in the first place, so he's pretty sure he made the right call by stepping onto the battlefield. Major Kang can't help but crack a smile, and he thanks Jin once again for making the right decision. Jin then hangs up after saying goodbye, and when we look ahead, we see Yona standing there with a clueless look on her face. She seems a bit startled, probably because she's never seen him smile like that before. Yona then frantically asks Jin if he needs to hurry back home, to which he replies that he doesn't, because his friends are waiting for him at the game room. Intrigued, Yona quickly says she wants to go there too, but it seems Seokju isn't sure if they should head over. Eventually, they make their way to the game room. When our boy steps inside, he's momentarily startled by the scene in front of him, and Seokju and Yona look just as confused. The game room is a complete mess. Peripherals are scattered on the ground, and one of the staff members is busy trying to clean up the aftermath of what looks like a fight. Seokju asks the manager what happened, and the annoyed manager explains that a group of kids in uniforms, like theirs, were gaming quietly until a bunch of kids from another school came in and started a full-blown brawl. It ended up in a huge mess, and now they're trying to clean up the chaos. Well, it looks like our two beta bullies and Yongchan might have gotten themselves into some serious trouble, and Jin seems to have a pretty good idea of what just went down. We finally catch up with Yongchan, who's running at full throttle. Even though he's out of breath, he dashes down the streets and quickly slips into one of the dark alleys. While hiding in the corner, he's absolutely terrified as the thugs who were chasing him continue their search. To understand how Yongchan ended up in this mess, let's rewind a bit.